Hello and welcome to React Lecture 4. So in this class, we'll learn about React hooks. So React hooks is a special built-in functions that lets functional component to use React feature such as state management through the useState function. Okay, so useState function is basically you can keep the state of the variable. Okay, um, for example, here, um, that's what the use state will provide you. So if you create the use state and then you set the initial value, so the initial value can be the value of a variable, or it can be the initial value of your objects, or it also can be the initial value of your array. Okay, and that value will be assigned to the state variable. Okay, so for example, here you have the 0, so this 0 is assigned to the count variable. Okay, and then you state also return a function. Okay, the set count, for example, here. So this usually we write the name of the function as set. Okay, so I mean it's just a convention. Okay, so these are the user defined names, so you can define whatever you want, but that's the usually the React developer use, like the function name is started with set and then function name, and then that's the variable name. Okay, and then so you basically destructure the useState functions with a variable and then the function. Okay, so this variable actually is kind of a memory. Okay, so you need to keep the state of a variable. Say for example here the count variable, our initial state is 0, and then we want to keep the updated state of it. Let's say that when you increment, its state will change to 1. When you another increment, its state is like this. And then let's say that you want to decrement, and then its state come back to here. So it's like a memory. So while the program is running, it keep the updated state of your variable. Okay. So that's a very helpful and is very useful hook they used it. So in today's coding video, you also see the use state. Okay, and then we'll also along the line we'll also see there are some other hooks like use effect hook. Okay, use effect is hook basically call used to call the API calls, or fetching the data from the server, which is basically our ultimate goal of this lecture series, that we want to have a server and then client will fetch the data from the server. So we'll use the use effect. Okay, another use of the use effect is you want to update the DOM, which is the document object model. It's basically when you render the HTML. Okay, so it can be based on some event, based on some time, whenever you want to update the DOM. Okay, um, so we'll see the use state. Okay, so let's see some example. So this is the very simple example. Say let's say that we have just a single variable. Okay, so we want to just keep one state. Say for example name. Okay, so here we say name is Titanic. Okay, so that's a movie name, right? So we just say it is name because it's basically we're not saying that movie is an object, which we'll see in the next one, where you need the more information, not just one information like the what is the title of the movie, but you also want like what is the release year of the movie. So you want to hold more information. So that's like more realistic example. So we'll see that in the next slide. So here you see that, okay, you print the name, so it basically initialized to Titanic. Okay, so this value will be printed, and then now there is an event is happening. So let's now on click event, and then this is the callback function, and then in the callback functions you are executing the set name function, which is in here, you see. So the set name is a function for changing the value of the name. So now you are changing the value to the matrix. Okay, so whenever you click, so the name which initially was Titanic will be updated to matrix. Okay, so that's very simple example of the use state hook. Now let's say that we're more realistic example at that. Okay, we have a movie, and then movie have more than one information. Okay, so movie has the title information, and this is an JavaScript object. You see, there's the object symbol, And then we have property and the value. We have a rating property and released year property. Okay, so these are the initial value. So here we see that we are actually displaying this value. Okay, movie.title, movie.rating, and movie.released year. Okay, so it will really you will display these three information. Now, what you are doing is we have an on-click event through the button, okay, element, and then when you click this button, let's say the next movie, that's the name of the button, and then you are calling this function, okay, so you're not directly calling the set movie function, but we are calling another function, okay, so this function, usually we write inside the movie because then we have the access to the set movie. Okay, so if you want to write, I mean, the React developer usually write inside this function. Okay, inside the movie function you write the useState function inside of it. Okay, if you want to write outside of that, then you also need to pass this React function as well. Okay, so usually we do inside so that this function has the access to the set movie function. Now what it is doing, the change movie, so you see that you are passing an object, okay? So you are passing the title and release year. You are not uh, sending the rating, right? So what this one is doing is that, okay, so you are calling the set movie and then you are saying, hey, I want to keep the all the previous state, which is the three dot, it means that all the previous state you want to keep, but then you also want to change certain thing which is coming by the new movie. Okay, so the new movie is basically sending the title and the release year, so it's eventually it will merge. Okay, so this one want to keep the previous state and then you can override by this information from the new movie. Okay, so new movie is sending the title information and release year information, but it's not sending the rating information. So rating information will be as it is, only the title and the release year will be updated. Okay, so this is also a very important example of the use state, and quite often we use this kind of things when we want to create react based front end tool. Okay, next we'll see the another small example of a form. Okay, so the form is a very important widget, right? We take the input from the users and then let's say that here the name field, which is basically is a variable here using the useState, and so useState we need to import from React. Okay, so when we see the coding slide video, then we'll see that we need to import this one from React. Okay, and then okay, so after the importing you can initialize it with the whatever the value that you want to initialize. So here our user defined variable name is name, and then we assign it's just the empty string. Okay, so that's the string type variable with empty string inside of it. Okay, now what we are doing here, we say that we registered the value of this input. So this is the input type is text. Okay, so there will be a text field would be created here, right? And then if you so value is registered to the name variable, which is initialized to nothing. Okay, so there will be nothing in here, but you see that on change, so this is an event, right? When the if a change event happens, so change means you do anything here, and then what he says that event says that okay, it will call the set name. So set name is a function, right? The hooks function here, the useState hooks function, and then set name says that we'll set the value of the name. So the name will be updated by the target dot value. So what is the target? The target is so event is the change, target is the input, right? So whatever the input value is, so that will be updated by the name value is. So you see that the value is registered to the name, and then when there is an event happen, like the change event happen, and then you assigning that value, the updated value to the name. So if the name is updating, then your text field will also be updated. Okay, so that's an interesting example. Okay, so we'll see all these things, all this example in our next video where we'll do the coding demo. Okay, so see you in the next video, and yeah, I'll stop here.